What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here and the 2016 MacBook Pro. I've had mine for a few days already, been using it, I do like it. However, there are a number of things, 20 to be exact, that I wanted to share with you that you should know about before even thinking about buying one of these. There's a lot of things that only come up later that may be an issue. So here's 20 things you should know about the MacBook Pro before buying it. Among the other things that Tim Cook ditched with the new MacBook Pro, the glowing Apple logo hits me the most. It was once a symbol of being different, not blending in with the crowd, especially when Apple wasn't doing too well. Anyone that had one of these things basically stood out in a crowd wherever you were. But now it's no more, and it's now just a solid machined logo. It doesn't even really matter to see it go, but the fact that it didn't take any extra energy, there was no reason to get rid of it, just sucks. An interesting change is that when you open the MacBook, it now automatically powers on. Alongside that, the startup chime that's been around since 1998 is no more. It's completely silent when turning it on, so I think it's sad to see that go as well. Man, Apple is really on a roll with this let's get rid of everything that's iconic about our MacBooks thing. So next up, they got rid of MagSafe. Well, you can kind of bring it back with a little adapter, but it'll never be the same. However, the one thing I gotta give props to USB-C for is the fact that you can charge from any port. That means you can actually charge on both sides of the laptop, so instead of just getting rid of MagSafe, it does bring something useful to the table. And I think a really dumb move on Apple's part is that they raised the price of the MacBook Pro, but didn't even include an adapter to extend the charging cable. You have to plug that big block into the power outlet. What? Anyways, to get it, just go ahead and separate the plastic layer on the bottom tray of your box. And I used a knife for this, as a ruler didn't do me very well. But anyways, once you go ahead and pry it apart, go ahead and carefully peel that plastic layer up and you'll reveal a secret compartment where Apple decided to store this secret adapter. So, not very well known, but it's there, guys. Check it out. Anyways, so moving on to the next point, you aren't even going to be able to charge your brand new iPhone 7 out of the box using your standard USB cable. I think it's kind of interesting about Apple's ecosystem right now. They're selling iPhone 7s, but without the proper USB cable. You're going to have to buy another $29 cable just to charge your iPhone. This doesn't even get to the problem of the Lightning headphones. You will never be able to plug those into the new MacBook, as just the adapter situation doesn't work. You can't plug Lightning into anything on the MacBook, and it has a 3.5mm jack. It just makes no sense. And a curious choice on Apple's part, the ports on the right side of the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the Touch Bar have reduced bandwidth. That means they're weaker than the ones on the left, and this is only on the 13-inch one with Touch Bar. So you guys know how at the event Apple was bragging you can power a 5K display from one single USB-C port. That's not entirely true. Apple actually worked in collaboration with LG to make a custom display controller inside of this display. It won't work for every 5K display. A lot of interesting things about the new Touch Bar. So first off, it uses a variant of Watch OS to go ahead and run, and it uses a T1 secure enclave based on the one from Series 2 Apple Watch. It's responsible for Touch ID, for the front-facing camera, and for a couple other security measures. Also, the Touch Bar brightness is fixed and cannot be manually adjusted. And yes, the Touch Bar is a real organic LED display made by Samsung with a resolution of 2180 by 80 pixels. Developers are only going to get a certain section on that Touch Bar to work with, otherwise the system controls and escape key are always going to be on the display, so you'll always have access to those no matter what. But what about running Windows via Boot Camp? By default, the function keys will be displayed on the Touch Bar. Now, it's unknown whether Apple will allow developers to access that Touch Bar in Windows, but I think that's highly unlikely. So what about the power button? On the Touch Bar, the Touch ID key on the very right of the Touch Bar is going to be the new power button. So it's going to be hardwired that you can use it as a reset key or a regular power button. Don't worry, Apple has thought of pretty much everything. Now, a very cool feature of the Touch Bar is that it's going to be coated in a matte surface. So Apple wants to create a seamless experience between the keyboard and the Touch Bar, and with a matte coating, they can do just that. Now, to give you a better idea of how the GPU classes compare, I made this little diagram. So the max option 460 is almost twice as powerful on the teraflop scale compared to the base 450. So I just want to make it clear, GPU upgrade oftentimes is a little bit more important than CPU upgrades, especially where we've gotten to the point where there's such a small difference between them. And now VR, Oculus Rift, none of that is going to be supported on the new MacBook Pro. It's just not powerful enough. The NVIDIA 970 is the base spec to run Oculus Rift, and that has 4 teraflops of processing power in the GPU. So nope, not happening on the MacBooks. Now, some video professionals are complaining the MacBook Pro doesn't have enough RAM. Phil Schiller said to put more than 16 gigabytes of RAM into a notebook design at this time would require a custom memory controller that just takes up too much battery power. So what he's saying is that we're not there yet. However, the big reason here is that DDR4 is not implemented into the MacBook Pro, as it does have a lower power requirement, which could help fix the situation, but most of the blame lies on Intel and their lack of compatible CPUs. Now, you guys may have heard somewhere on the internet that the new SSD on the MacBook Pro is replaceable by the user. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. It's only the case on the base 13-inch MacBook Pro, the one without the touch bar. If you go out and expect to be able to change the SSD, you won't be able to on the other higher end models. So just want to make that clear. But anyways, guys, there it is, the new 2016 MacBook Pro. I'm blown away. I cannot wait to get the touch bar version and be able to begin using that. But still, there are a few complaints I'm not happy with about this MacBook Pro. But at this point in time where Apple wasn't updating anything for years, I'll take anything. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful. Peace.